all of a sudden
shifting the water.
somewhere had to be overflow.
Yep.
Yeah, springtime flooded, I suppose, and
Yep.
yeah, even if it's a seasonally flooded basin, they still treat it as a wetland.
Yeah. They're lots
I want a
easier
laptop.
to,
I want something I can look at.
and you do, I've got a laptop at home that I use for like research or something. But for like answering and just for these meetings and stuff, it's,
Perfect.
yeah, this is a brand new
I
one.
like my phone.
That's kind of. I tend to do that too.
I weigh heavily on that thing.
Oh, excuse me.
And I've got a shared calendar between my other work phone and this phone, so I don't double things up. So they all stack up, and it's like a mess.
Yeah, that's my problem. I was putting them in two different phones, you know.
Right.
Electronic.
He's complaining about your TVs, he wants Paw
Well,
Patrol
Jolene
on.
listens downstairs.
Oh.
to Get the minutes.
Yeah, I don't think we can get by with that today.
I just do the.
I'm all right with that.
accents. She does a double check.
Maybe less.
And it's all recorded.
Sounds like more
She
fun
goes back
too.
and listens. Yeah, no, I'm not.
It
Oh,
kinda
gosh,
does,
no.
doesn't it?
I'm like, you are a multitasking queen, man. I would be like, wow. Cause yeah.
Barb, whenever you're ready,
Okay,
because we are recording.
okay. We have, one person signed up for public comment, and Rick?
Yep.
You want to come up, state your name, and we'll listen to you.
Okay, my name's Rick Baum, and the reason I'm here is just we made the application to get the ditch cleaned out. We bought the land about a year ago, and we basically have water standing in the ditches. I just drove by right now, and there's water standing even in the road ditches as dry as it is. The water just can't run through the ditch. There isn't, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the area, but in the back, there is big mounds of dirt. And I'm gonna pay to have that all leveled back out. I'm not sure if at one time there was a flood and they went in and built all that up. But it's really hard to maintain that ditch when you got big banks. And then we have trees and stuff growing in there, which is, if we leave all that, it's just gonna be the same problem all over again. So the guy that's out there doing it, I've contracted him to level out all those piles. So in the future, if that could be sprayed real easy and cleaned out a lot easier too. There's a lot of water, I think, that flows through there, and I don't have the foggiest idea. I don't think it's been cleaned out for 30, 40 years. I mean, there's trees in there this big, you know, and nothing can flow through, so we just like to solve the problem and get it taken care of, because there's a lot of water that runs across the road, comes that way too, to head to the Little Swan River, you know. So I don't know, that's what we're trying to do.
Okay.
If you got any questions or anything for me, or?
At this point, is public comment, and we don't answer or have anything other than.
Okay, well, I'm just a rookie, so I just thought I'd ask before I go.
Thanks,
Very
Rick.
good,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
That was 42, right? Ditch, County Ditch 42.
Did you guys just discuss it then at the
Rick.
end, or we stick
Rick.
around, or what's best?
Was that County Ditch 42?
I
40.
just caught
40.
it. It takes like
40.
It's on our agenda here, 7-2.
It's on the agenda today, but it won't be
Yeah.
until probably
All right,
a good 40 minutes or more.
there.
All right, so we
I
can just
see it.
take off, doesn't matter what.
That, I mean, there's some funding for practices there. I just don't know. We'll have to, if we can't get in, if we can't get into the federal stuff, we'll push it through the soil and water and see if they'll go for it. Once you get to that point though, I gotta walk away from it. Yeah. So,
Yeah, they're fine.
alright, sounds good.
I gotta leave this playing. I'm
Morning.
gonna use mine. I wanna make sure that it stays lit up, cause before it would keep going down all the time. I just got it
Oh,
towards
yeah.
the end of the board.
And we are recording, Barb, so you're.
Okay. Okay, we have another person for public comment. William, if you want to come up and state your name into the microphone.
Apologize for that.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Sock.
Okay. What can we,
I was told to come here because you guys are rejected and threw back my campground options.
this is a public comment, if you'd like to make a comment. Is that on the agenda today?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
It's a review of CUP, is that what it is?
Yes.
2020 CUP?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
okay. If, I don't know if you want to address the board at the
No.
meeting, before the meeting, or if you want to wait for it to come up at the agenda.
I'll wait till it comes up.
Okay, thank you.
saw the press release on Facebook. I didn't hear that.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to the Todd County Board of Commissioners regular board meeting. Today is March 19th, 2024. The time is 9 o'clock. All commissioners are present along with the auditor, treasurer, county coordinator, and county attorney. We will now stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll do something a little different this morning. I'll go ahead and ask our county coordinator to introduce herself.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Becker. Hello, my name is Jackie Bauer, and I just started as the new county coordinator for Todd County. I only have about 1 week in, so very, very new. Where I came from was I've worked for about over 25 years in higher education, but also 15 years as the clerk for Birchdale Township in Todd County, and also 2 years as the Minnesota Association of Township trainer for clerks and treasurers across the state. I grew up about 8 miles north of Long Prairie between Sauk Center and Melrose, where my parents were, and I currently live in Melrose. I'm married. I have 3 daughters and 2 son-in-laws and a soon-to-be son-in-law in August. And I have 3 grandbabies, love them. I love to go to music concerts, boating, gardening, just like to, get outdoors, have fun. And I look forward to serving all of the residents of Todd County as their county coordinator. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie, and welcome. With that, we'll go on to the amendments to the agenda.
I have none, Madam Chair.
Hearing no amendments to the agenda, I'll ask for a motion.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. And then we'll go into the consent items.
Today we have meeting minute approval for March 5th, 2024. American Legion 417 Oscar Jacobson Post, a 1-year club liquor license. Gambling permit for Society of St. Pius X. Their event will be 8/11/2024. Termination of employment number 1037, effective 2/29/24. Notice of resignation of Dylan Peterson, heavy equipment operator on 3/21/24. Acceptance of resignation of Eric Dahl as part-time boat and water 10/9/2023. And hire office support specialist 2, Victoria Hayes, start date 3/20/24.
Having heard the consent agenda, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Under the auditor treasurer,
Yes.
we have commissioner warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $80,390.18.
Okay, is there a motion for commissioner warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Noska, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call?
Commissioner Noska?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
The next item we have then is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Again, background was sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $115,661.82.
Okay. Is there a motion for the Health and Human Services Commissioner warrants?
So moved.
Motion by Denny, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Naska?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
The next item we have then is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $160,593.49.
Okay, hearing the Health and Human Services SSI warrants, is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion by Newman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Naska. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, roll call.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Naska?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
The next item I have is the police state aid. Establish a restricted fund balance for police state aid. Background is in 2023, omnibus bill included $210 million in a one-time public safety aid that was distributed on 12/26/2023 to cities and counties across the state. Todd County received $712,940 from this one-time distribution. The omnibus bill also provided stipulations regarding allowable uses for this one-time funding. Until allowable projects can be identified, the Sheriff's Office is requesting to establish a restricted fund balance to carry forward these funds for use in 2024. State Auditor's recommendation is to approve a resolution of restricted fund balance on an annual basis for transparent financial reporting. Your options are to adopt the attached resolution or do not, and it is the recommendation to adopt the attached resolution establishing a restricted fund balance for the police aid 2023 one-time distribution in the amount of $712,940.
I'll ask for a motion to establish a restricted fund balance for the police state aid.
So moved.
Motion by Newman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
And we have another restricted fund balance for planning and zoning's grant programs. The background, the planning and zoning grant revenues arrive prior to the year of a planned activity. State Auditor's recommendation is to approve by resolution a restricted fund balance on an annual basis for transparent financial reporting. The balance of these grants as of 12/31/2023 was $103,472. Your options are to adopt the attached resolution or do not adopt it, and the recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution to restrict fund balance for planning and zoning grant programs.
I'll ask for a motion for the restrict fund balance for the planning and zoning grant programs.
So moved.
Motion by Denny, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Naska. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
And moving along, transfer of funds for the ARP project expenses. Background, there exist ARP, SL, FRF, used and expensed funds that have been approved by the county board involving the support of staffing positions. These expenses are not to be billed directly to Fund 19 and now necessitate realignment to the county departments that incurred the expense for inclusion of reporting to the U.S. Treasury. In order to comply with the audit standards, it is recommended to approve the transfer of funds from Fund 19 to Fund 11 Human Services in the amount of $4,480.30. Your options are to approve the attached resolution or do not. It is the recommendation to approve the attached resolution to transfer the funds for ARPA expenses.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion for the transfer of funds of ARPA for project expenses.
So moved.
Motion by Naska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, the next item I have then is to acknowledge the receipt of petition proposed Osakis Lake Improvement District. The background, in Todd County Auditor Treasurer's Office received a petition for the establishment of a lake improvement district pursuant to Minnesota statute 103B.521. The county auditor must verify signatures and notify the county board if a majority of the property owners within the proposed lake improvement has signed an agreement. The county auditor has completed verification and is now providing formal notification to the county board the acknowledgement of this receipt. Your options are to accept the notification from the county auditor and acknowledge the receipt of the petition for a proposed Osakis Lake Improvement District, or do not. Recommendations are to accept notification from the county auditor and acknowledge the receipt of the petition for a proposed Osakis Lake Improvement District.
Okay, is there a motion for the acknowledgement of receipt of petition proposed Osakis Lake Improvement District?
So moved.
Motion by Noska, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair, I'll abstain.
Okay, opposed? And carries.
All right, so then with that, we have setting the hearing date. To set public hearing for the proposed Osakis Lake Improvement District, according to Minnesota Statute 103B.521, within 30 days after being notified of this petition, the county board must hold a public hearing on whether the requested Lake Improvement District should be established. Due to the fact that the proposed Osakis Lake Improvement District would include landowners of both Douglas and Todd counties, the county auditors from both counties have been working together to find a date, time, location where a public hearing can be held for both county boards to hold jointly. Options are to set the date, time, and location for the joint county proposed Osakis Lake Improvement public hearing and to order the appropriate notices to be published and delivered as described by law, or do not set the joint hearing date. It is the recommendation to set the joint county proposed Osakis Lake Improvement District public hearing for Tuesday, April 16th, 2024, beginning at 6 p.m. at the Osakis High School Auditorium.
Denise, it was April 16th, at what time?
April 16th at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
And I believe they've allotted the time from 6 to 9. So they've
Okay.
allotted the 3 hours.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to set the public hearing for the proposed Lake Osakis Improvement District on April 16th at 6 p.m., and that will be at
The
Osakis?
Osakis Public High School, yep.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion by Byers, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Any discussion?
Madam Chair, I'm going to abstain again.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And it carries.
And the last item I have then today is the Expo Building. Use of Expo Building, Burrillville School Spring Sports Practice. Some background on this. Due to the damage received at the Burrillville High School in the spring of 2023, there is a request to utilize the Todd County Expo Building for spring sport practice. The requested time frame for use of the facility is estimated to be April 1 through 5/31 of 2024. The request is to waive the rental and utility fees for the lease of the Expo Building for this time frame. A damage deposit of $1,000 will be made with the understanding that it will be returned if no damage is found in the building after its use. Options are to approve waiving the rental fee and utility fees for the Burrillville School Spring Sports Practice at the Expo Building, or do not. And the recommendation is to approve waiving the rental and utility fees for Burrillville School Spring Sports Practice at the Todd County Expo Building from 4/1/24 through 5/31/24. This is allowed due to the unexpected loss of the Burrillville Gym facility and construction timelines for the new facility to be realized.
Okay, is there a motion for the use of the Expo Building by the Burrillville School District for spring sports practice?
So moved.
Motion by Newman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? I believe we did this last year for the Burrillville School also.
Yes, and they appreciated it. And like Mr. Petermeyer said, they may use it, they may not. I think they
But
used
it's
it a half a
available.
dozen times. But if we get a rainy spring or their fields aren't usable, then they have a place to go.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. And then we'll go into Public Works. Good morning.
Lauren.
So the first item I have this morning is a request for the award of a construction contract for the Todd County Historic Rock Wall Project. There is an attached resolution, and I'm just gonna try to summarize it very quickly. We received bids on March 6th, right up here for the rock wall project, with a base bid being $674,254, and that's phase one, which would be the north wall on this side of the facility. We also included in the bid as a bid alternate, which would be phase two, which would be the west wall on that side of the campus for a low bid of $70,000. We currently have a grant that we've accepted from the Minnesota Historical Cultural Resources Heritage Grant Program for $395,000, and this project has been included and eligible for use of ARPA funds to fund the remaining portion of the project. Based on the low bid, we're recommending that we award the low bid to Boulder Creek Incorporated of Wilmer, Minnesota, based on a low bid of $674,254, and include, because of the low dollar value, the alternate, which would be the phase two of $70,000 for a complete construction bid of $744,254. So that'd be complete from basically the driveway all the way around to the north side of the building. The whole rock wall would be constructed. The additional resolution that we have inside this would be that we'd use the historic grant from the Historic Cultural Resources Heritage Grant for the $395,000, and the remaining money for the project would be from the ARPA funds, transferring that money over to use for this for $349,254. With any additional money needed for the project in case of contingency needs, that money would then be used from the Todd County Facilities Capital Improvement Fund. So with that, our options are to approve this attached resolution or do not approve the attached resolution, and our recommendation is approve the attached resolution awarding a contract to Boulder Creek Incorporated of Wilmer, Minnesota for a total construction contract of $744,254.
Okay, I would ask for a motion for the approval to award the construction contract for the Todd County Historical Wall Project.
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion? Within that discussion, I would like to thank Chris Pelzer because we've worked on this grant from the Historical Society for close to 10 years, I believe. Did a lot of work and a lot of time was put into getting that grant. So thank you, Chris. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries.
All right, thank you. Our second item of the agenda is a improvement project, a pavement project out at Battle Point Park. If I may, this kind of came forward with a request from Commissioner Newman. Since we're in the general area this year, we've saw some areas on the driveway that are in need of repair. Since we're in the general area this year with our paving projects, it would be a good opportunity for us to get these repairs done and probably do a little enhancement out there as far as the boat ramp. So if I could ask Denise to just move up the map here that's attached to this resolution or board action form, and I'll just kind of quick summarize it. So here's Battle Point Park, the whole area here, going out to the township road here. This is the actual ramp going into the lake here. So our couple projects that we're looking at doing or completing with this would be the repair of the asphalt that's failing right here and here, the one in blue and the one in red. So that'd be patch one, patch two, and then once that's completed, putting in a complete overlay across the whole thing. Also included in that is a boat ramp extension or paving enhancement from basically here all the way out to the corner here, if I have that correct. Since I put this together, I've had a request from the Parks and Trails Department that the Public Works would actually come out and remove, there's an island right here, what I call an island, basically trees, boulders, some old fence posts that kind of inhibit and prevent good turning movements for all the boat traffic around there. So by us going in there and remove that, we can really enhance this area and basically add some parking to the whole parking lot. What we're proposing is to do that work as far as Public Works, all the groundwork, all the cutting of the asphalt, and basically with this board action form, we'd be requesting the use of ARPA funds to cover just the cost of the pavement. We believe we can get that mostly done for around the $20,000 mark. So with that, our options are to approve the attached, or approve the project as presented with the use of ARPA funds covering the cost of the new pavement, or do not do the paving project this year. And our recommendation is to approve the 2024 Battle Point Park paving project with ARPA funds covering the cost of the new pavement.
Okay, I would ask for a motion for the 2024 Battle Point Park paving project.
So move.
Motion by Noska, a motion by Newman, excuse
Second.
me.
I'll
Second
take
by
the second,
Noska, and
Randy.
I'll just,
Yeah, two are on their way there anyway.
any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank you,
All
Lord.
right, thank you.
County Ditch Inspector Nancy?
Good morning.
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 I got 2 agenda items this morning. The first one is County Ditch 33, hold harmless agreement, ditch maintenance, and install a private crossing. The options are approve the hold harmless agreement or do not approve the hold harmless agreement. The recommendation is the Todd County Board of Commissioners approves the following by motion. Acting as ditch authority approves a hold harmless agreement petition from John Yoder to clean approximately 1,360 feet of lateral 10 and install a private crossing on County Ditch 33 located on parcel 2000035403, Reynolds Township, Section 32. The project will be done on his own property at his own expense.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion for a whole harmless agreement for County Ditch 33.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Discussion.
I got a little here quick. So it does look like it's a pretty low area there.
Yep.
He's already gotten his approval from the Soil and Water.
Yep, he's working
Okay,
with soil and
perfect.
water. Yep.
Perfect, thank you.
Any further discussion?
I don't know if you wanted to just see the area that he's cleaning.
Yep.
And it's a 36-inch culvert on the road and a 36-inch culvert on the township road, so he'll need to install a 36-inch crossing.
Perfect.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Thanks. All right, second agenda item is County Ditch 40 Lateral 2 repair estimate. The background is the aerial photo, Big Stone Excavating estimate for CD 40 Lateral 2, and the background for Lateral 2 repair. The options are approve hiring Big Stone Excavating LLC to clean Lateral 2 at the updated price of $15,000. Number 2 is do not approve hiring Big Stone Excavating LLC to clean Lateral 2. And option number 3, request the ditch inspector to obtain another estimate with a modified project which includes tree removal only on the north side of the ditch and leveling spoil only on the north side of the ditch on original spoil piles. And I did not put in a recommendation.
Okay, we'll need a motion and a recommendation for County Ditch 40.
Is there any chance for discussion, Madam
Yes.
Chair?
Please.
Discussion prior?
Yeah, and I do have
Okay,
whole background thing.
yep.
If you wanna,
Do you want the
yeah,
map?
if you want, if you can scroll down to this page, scroll up to this page.
I don't, which one do you want? This?
Yes, this.
Perfect.
Okay, so the background on this, there was a request for a lateral 2 repair. An informational meeting was held October 3rd, 2023. So the as-built length of lateral 2 is approximately 2,662 feet. There's a very deep section of ditch, which is approximately 571 feet. And on that map, the purple dot and west is that deep section of ditch. There's very large spoil piles on the south side of the ditch that were created in 1973 by the Ditch Authority to mitigate severe erosion caused by historic flooding. A long-reach excavator is going to be needed in that section. The remainder of the ditch is approximately 2,091 feet, and there's about 3 feet of silt in it, and there's brush and trees along that section. I was requested after the informational meeting to get estimates to clean lateral 2. And the first estimate I got was from Machi Construction, and these first 2 estimates were to do total tree removal and to excavate the deep section of ditch and to pile, burn, and bury the trees. Machi Excavating came in at $20,320, which was $763 a foot. NBC Drainage came in with 2 different options, but the first option was $23,277.50 at $8.74 a foot. And the second option, which would be removing any trees from site, would be $25,377.50. So that's $953 a foot. Those estimates came in too high, and so then I was asked to get another estimate. So I got an estimate from Big Stone Excavating for $17,000, and that was $639 a foot. That was with all tree removal, excavating the deep section, and then burying, and piling the burning the trees. That also was too high, so I asked Big Stone Excavating what the cost would be if they removed leveling the spoil on the south side of the ditch and removing any trees on the south side of the ditch that are not within the inslope, back slope, and bottom of the ditch. He said the $1,000 would be removed for the leveling of the spoil on the south side, and $1,000 would be removed for removing any trees from that south side. So it wasn't decreased as much as I thought it would be decreased. With the original spoils being on the north side of the ditch, that's the only side we need to remove trees from. That's why I put repair definition on there. The repair definition is to restore all or part of the drainage system as nearly practicable to hydraulic capacity as originally constructed and subsequently improved. We are not required to remove trees from both sides of the ditch.
So you're looking to right now get another bid yet though for just the north side, not do anything on the
Just the north side. Don't touch the south side at all, except for any trees that may be hanging over.
Get rid of the trees and anything that may be hanging over. So there would be nothing done on the south side at all.
Nothing done on the south side.
Do you think it would substantially decrease the $15,000 bid? Or
I expected it to, because there's a lot of trees on the south side.
Okay, so we're kind of, I mean, for me, I would probably like to see that option
Are
explored.
you asking us to table this until that third bid?
Well, I'm actually looking to use option C is what I'm looking at.
Okay, I don't have
Option
C.
3.
Or option 3, sorry. Option 3, request a district inspector to obtain another estimate with the modified project, because I still think $15,000 is quite a big expenditure for the landowners on that ditch system.
Okay,
to have
and is
for-
that a motion on number 3?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion by Nazca. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Denny. Discussion.
I'm gonna abstain, that's my property.
Okay, Bob will abstain. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries. So you'll be bringing
I'll
back
bring another
that additional
yes.
bid.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
Yep, thanks.
We'll look for planning and zoning then?
No, county attorney.
We have
Oh,
county.
excuse
attorney,
me,
county
county attorney.
As noted in the board action, increased demands facing the pipeline supports that in the past situation.
That's untenable. This includes new time-consuming electronic discovery filing and disclosure requirements, ongoing office conversion to paperless operations, increased work product demands from court administration, timely destruction of paper files per our retention policies, as well as new duties arising from my commitment to handle more civil matters for the county. There's simply more legal assistant work than the current support staff can reasonably be expected to handle. I'll add to that what I shared in personnel and work session leading up to this point. Recently, the BCA has given county attorneys' offices guidelines on how to handle the expungement of cannabis convictions, because they have to be expunged under the new law. And so that's going to take some time. I'll also note, and you all know this, but I've taken everything that I can off the plates of the 3 current assistants in order to allow them to get what needs to be done. And that includes all wellness committee activities. I mean, years ago, as you likely know, my office was the center of wellness activities for and all that's been taken away because we just don't have time to do it anymore. So the options are to approve the request to create and fund another legal assistant position within my office and to post this position for internal and external applicants without delay, or to deny the request.
Okay, with that, we'll have a little bit of discussion, I think, beforehand. This is kind of unusual, because usually it comes in front of the finance, because it's a non-budgeted item. And looking through your budget, there was no new people you had signed at, when we went through budgeting last year. And that's why I think it was tabled at the last meeting, because it did not go through the finance part of it. With that, I will open it up for discussion.
And Madam Chair, I made a mistake when I said it was like board protocol. It is actually a process that the county board has used since the finance committee was established. And basically, the department heads come in, they fill in a sheet, and they say if they're gonna add any new hires in next year's budget. And that's how the process has been going. So I apologize, John. I know you're new to the county attorney's office, but that's the process. And I apologize if if I offended you when I pulled it last week, or last meeting. But that's the process we go, okay? And we want to help you with yours, but we also have to be accountable to the taxpayers, okay? So when you submitted that, okay, this is a new hire.
Yes.
And that's the process that the board follows is, if it's a new hire, you put it down on your budget.
And it's non-budgeted position also. So I guess we go into our facilities, not facilities, financial part of it, as how are we going to pay for this position if we move it forward?
Madam Chair, as part of the finance and the budget process, Form B wasn't filled out with new hires, so that'll have to be a board decision because there's not a budgeted line item for this expense. Now, maybe the attorney's office has something that I'm not aware of, but nothing was indicated when we did. So the board just has to decide if it's going to be something that'll come out of general fund or. That's the board's decision.
Yeah.
I just know that.
At this point, if we approve the hire, it would have to come out of a general fund, correct?
Right, because there's not a budgeted line item for this staff person.
Okay. Any discussion?
So
Questions as we move forward? Yes.
The projected max is 84.5 a year, if I'm looking at it right.
Yep.
And I see a comment about partial offset because the first 4 months here, the last 4 months of 2023, there's a 30,000 potential surplus there.
That the surplus goes away at the end of the year if there's no carryover. So at the end of 2023, they had a surplus of $11,000.
Okay.
And that was just because they generated more revenue than they had expenses.
So I really shouldn't think of I should subtract 30 from the
right.
84.5.
Right.
But the 84.5 is an annual salary that is proposed, so for 2024, we got 3 months, we're almost 3 months into this, so it's really, the impact is is 3/4 of what that number is.
3/4, yeah.
So you're talking 60-something?
Mm-hmm.
If it were to be higher today.
What we've done in the past with new hires like this, and I think we've done it with the sheriff's office in the past, is we have them, if it's a new unbudgeted hire, we have them wait until July 1st. And I don't know if that's a possibility or not. John?
It's an emergency
Okay.
situation, so I'm asking the board to make this happen. I will advise the board 2 things. One, the estimate in the board action form about cost of this is based on grade 7 top step plus family benefits. So that's the absolute high-end cost to the county for a year for this position. Secondly, in response to the auditor treasurer's comments about our alleged surplus from last year, I can advise that the total provided was not complete and accurate. It was based on a report that did not totally take into account all of the income revenue from that year, including money that I bill to social services for child support services and other things. Those sources of income from my office were not included, and as noted, any savings from not having a fifth assistant for 4 months in 2023 were not included. So again, I'd ask the board as an emergency, and it's something that is long overdue, to just make it happen. Thank you.
Madam Chair? So I guess the way I see it is similar to what Bob is doing. I mean, we prorate that 84.5 max per year, right? That's and we don't expect to hire at that top rate. Plus, we won't be probably not a hire till middle of April, I'm guessing. So, I mean, you're losing 3.5 months now. And, you know, it's going to be fairly close to that. I mean, closer to that 30,000 number we're not taking a ton out.
Madam Chair, may I also say that it could take longer. I've had a position open since December. So it might, I'm not to scare you, but it might take 3 months. We'll take you into the summer.
Okay.
And you'd expect that to be completely budgeted then next year?
It'll come through the budget, yeah.
So we'd be.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Noska, I can advise, and statistics from the Minnesota County Attorneys Association will bear this out, that generally the ratio of support staff to attorneys is at least 1-to-1, if not more support staff to attorneys. Right now, we're at 5-to-3. And so I anticipate, yes, once a fourth legal assistant becomes part of my office, that position will be permanent. And I apologize to the board too. I've been doing this for 20 months, and I've been complaining about this for 20 months. Had I known that there was a different route to this point, besides Personnel Committee, work session, board, I would have followed it. Nevertheless, because we're here and because time is of the essence, I would ask the board to consider this anyway. Thank you.
Commissioner Denny, did you have a comment?
I was just gonna say, we find ways to make, to spend money on less important things. I mean, it sounds like it's quite the need for it. So with that being said, in all the discussion, I'd make a motion to approve the request to create.
Okay, we have a motion by Denning for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Further discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. John, got a question. You don't look to hire anybody next year, do you, in 2025? Add to your staff in 2025?
No, I don't anticipate any need for an additional attorney nor support staff. I can advise that I'll likely have to shift the responsibilities of one of the current assistants to at least half-time social services because of the dramatic increase in child protection and adult mental health type cases. And that increase in work generates its own need for legal assistance as far as petitions and disseminating disclosures and so on. So, but no, if you're looking for my word that I'm not going to ask again in the next couple of years, you got it.
Okay. Commissioner Byers?
I was just gonna make, it seems to me like, it's kind of like the guy building a house. You gotta have more than one person help build this house, because without that one person, the house might get built in, 2 or 3 years or 10 years for a rock project. So if this increases our success rate in, the things that John's office does, I mean, thank you, dear Lord, that'd be great. So again, I'm seconding it, and take it from there.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Now we'll go into planning and zoning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, lots of items today, but first is the Enos Borntrager request for CUP. An application for a conditional use permit to operate a greenhouse with an advertising sign on parcel 07002200 in Eagle Valley Township was submitted on January 2nd. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the March 7th public hearing, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with conditions or establish findings to deny the CUP or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP to parcel 07002200 with the following conditions. 1, that the greenhouse operator must provide adequate off-street parking for all greenhouse traffic. No parking shall be allowed within the road right-of-way. 2, no loading or unloading materials will be allowed within the road right-of-way. 3, the business is restricted to construction of a single greenhouse as proposed. Construction of additional greenhouses or expansion to the existing greenhouse shall require the review of the Planning Commission. 4, business signage must abide by the home-based business requirements, section 9.15 of the Todd County Planning and Zoning Ordinance, and placement of signage within the road right-of-way shall require approval of the road authority. And 5, the applicant must obtain additional permitting and/or licenses from additional government agencies as necessary.
Okay, I would ask for a motion for the Enos, how do you say his last name?
Borntrager.
Okay, request for a CUP.
So moved.
Motion by Byers, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, next is the Amen C. and Lizzie J. Hirschberger request for CUP. An application for CUP for construction and retail sales of hunting blinds on parcel 20002300 Reynolds Township was submitted on February 6th. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the March 7th public hearing. Final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with conditions, establish findings to deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. And the recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission, grant the CUP to 20002300 with the following conditions. 1, there shall be no loading or unloading of materials within the public roadway. Off-street parking shall be provided for all business traffic. 3, storage of supplies and finished products shall be stored meeting all setback requirements. 4, land use permits shall be required for all future construction. The business is restricted to construction of a single shop as proposed, and construction of additional shops or expansion to that existing shop shall require the review of the Planning Commission, and that the applicant abide by all their applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion for the, you better say their names.
Hirschberger.
Thank you. Request for CUP.
So moved.
Motion by Byers, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
All right. Next is Ernest R. and Martha A. Huta request for CUP. I may have gotten that last name wrong, but an application for a CUP for operation of commercial services on parcel 1800-50800 in Long Prairie Township was submitted on February 6th. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the March 7th meeting, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with the conditions, establish findings to deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP to parcel 18, had a typo there, I apologize, 1800-50800 with the following condition, that the applicant abide by all their federal, state, and local standards.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion for the Hutala request for a CUP.
So moved.
Motion by Byers, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, next is Jacob C. and Emma Miller, request for CUP. The application for CUP to establish a resaw and/or sawmill operation on parcel 0700-37500 Eagle Valley Township was submitted on February 8th, 2024. Application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the March 7th public hearing. Final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the CUP with the conditions below. Options are to grant the CUP with conditions, establish findings to deny the CUP, or remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the CUP to parcels 0700-37500 with the following conditions. 1, hours of operation shall be restricted to 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Saturday. 2, operation of the sawmill shall be conducted within a permitted structure. 3, outdoor storage of products shall be allowed, but shall be conducted in compliance with section 901B of the Todd County Planning and Zoning Ordinance. 4, business traffic shall access the site via County 84 from the south. Northbound traffic from the site shall not be allowed for protection of the roadway. 5, operation site shall meet all setback requirements of the zoning district in which it is located. 6, there shall be no loading or unloading of materials within the road right-of-way. 7, applicant shall work with Eagle Valley Township to establish a sufficient business access and establish truck route signage. And 8, establishment of an exhaust system directed through the roof of the structure with inclusion of a muffler. And 9, the applicant shall abide by all other applicable federal, state, and local standards. And I can give a little bit of background on a couple of these conditions. Number 3, that section 901B, that's our public nuisance section that talks about screening and different things like that. Where they plan on storing is in the back behind all the buildings and stuff, but we'll make reference to that for storage. Condition 4, the township was in attendance. That was their concern, is they wanted to minimize traffic on the township roads. So they requested that the traffic come from the south to the site and then back south to that main road. I think those are and then 7 was to work with the township. Their current access is very narrow. If they're gonna get trucks in there, they're gonna need to widen that. So we had that as a condition, as a request of the township also.
Okay, and Adam, you said the township was there during this
Yep.
discussion?
Yeah, they actually submitted some correspondence because they weren't sure if they were gonna be there, but then they were able to attend, so they were in person.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'd ask for a motion for the Miller request for a CUP.
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Nazca. Discussion.
Yes, Madam Chair, this was a long one. I listened to the whole planning zoning meeting, so.
Yep.
A long discussion on this one.
I was also curious to see what they left for hours of operation being. It is in an ag area.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, Christopher Sunderman, request for rezoning. An application for rezoning of the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 10, Kendota Township, was submitted on February 12th, 2024. Application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the March 7th meeting, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the rezone with the conditions below. Options are to grant the rezone with conditions, develop findings to deny the rezone, or 3, remand it back to the Planning Commission. Recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the rezone to the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter, Section 10 of Kendota Township with the following conditions. 1, all future land uses shall abide by the Todd County Planning and Zoning Ordinance, and 2, that landowners shall abide by all other applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Okay, Adam, I don't have the map up. Is this the one that was going from R10 to ag?
That is correct.
How does that relate to our feedlot that we're just trying to plan and get promoting, you know, because the comment was made, I believe, during the planning and zoning meeting, that instead of buying 5 acres, he would only have to buy 2 acres now?
Right,
So if, if you had a feedlot put in there, how would that?
I don't know that the addition of a feedlot in that area, well, first off, wouldn't be allowed in R10 or a very
Yeah, but
small
we're
site.
changing it to R2.
Right.
So then a feedlot would be allowed in R2. Or I mean,
yeah.
Ag 2, excuse me,
Yeah.
Ag 2.
Yep. So it really doesn't have a lot of impact, the size of the parcel. I think part of the reason they wanted, between the person purchasing and the landowner, they wanted to sell a smaller space. And my understanding is that the person that's buying that currently rents the land and farms it himself. The major consideration here is the number of dwelling sites available on that government 40 to try to reduce impacts that we've discussed of farming around it. And what actually happens here is that our 10 zone would have allowed up to 10 acres apiece, 40 acres, you got 4 dwelling sites. By rezoning it to AF2, it reduces it to a maximum of 2 on that 40 acres.
Okay, because during our discussions throughout the feedlot, it's always been brought up about rezoning this land and how it would make things more complicated or less complicated. So
Right.
I think moving forward and rezoning, we got to really look to see how it would impact ag in the feedlots.
Yeah, it's an important discussion to have on every one of them. But this one, to me, and I think the Planning Commission found that you're reducing potential impacts because of the number of dwelling sites that would be possible in an area that's always been agriculture.
Okay. With that, I would ask for a motion for the Sunderland
Sunderman?
Sunderman.
request to rezone.
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
All right. The review of CUP number 2020-027, and during the February 1st, 2024 Planning Commission public hearing, CUP 2020-027 was reviewed for failure to substantially complete the conditions of the CUP within 36 months from the date the CUP was granted. The item was remanded back to the Planning Commission during the February 20th Commissioners meeting. The Planning Commission held further discussion and redeveloped a recommendation to allow continuation of the CUP with a review date of December 31st, 2025. Options are to allow the continuation of the CUP with this review date for a compliance, or establish findings to revoke the CUP. Would add in there, you can change that review date also. The recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and allow a continuation of the CUP with that review date of December 31st, 2025.
Okay.
I'd like
Would
for
you like
some
to have
discussion, yeah, a little bit on this one. So what was the original review date that the Planning Commission had given us prior?
It was in the spring of 26, maybe 2, 3, 4 months after whatever that date. I don't remember right off the top of my head.
Well, I almost think it's still too long right now. It's still too far out. I don't know what the thoughts of the rest of the board are. I mean, it's been 3 years already. And is this the campground?
Is this the guy that was here this morning?
Yeah, he's here. If you wanted him to come on.
This Rick Baum?
No, not Rick.
It's
William.
Bill Hartsock, yeah, is the landowner.
I'll be honest with you, Lou, listening to the tape, the planning commission wasn't very happy about us sending this back,
Okay.
all right? So
Well, and that's.
if you look at the pictures and stuff, the guy's got a pile of inventory of wire and stuff laying around. And I'm assuming he can't find anybody to work, and that's, is that our problem? No. But,
The parts I see, I mean, having the wire there and not having that in the ground isn't necessarily a condition of his CUP. The condition of the CUP that's been violated is the screening. And that's the issue I see, is that we need a little more effort on that side of it. If you've had 3 years to plant trees or put some visual screening, I don't know what we want to call visual screening, but it should be installed by the time that's CUP.
You bring up a very interesting position. Visual screening, does it have to be trees? Because during the planning or zoning meeting, he was just, trees won't grow, blah, blah, blah. Can we do some other visual screening besides the trees that he could be putting up?
Yeah, absolutely. Visual screening is visual screening. I just feel that I thought that was what was recommended initially, was trees.
Yeah,
He was he's got shrubbery, lilacs bought and ready to plant that. Not trees, I asked him about trees, we said not because of the power lines there. And, but, so yeah, I mean, the screening, I'm not sure if you guys are going down the road of wanting a fence up, but, I mean, I've seen some pretty hellacious fences go up and not put in properly and tip over in the wind in a year, and you got something that looks like garbage. So, I mean, and the reason for the 2 growing seasons was to actually get and establish a screening. That's why the time frame was left alone, rather than just slam it in and let it fail. But throwing the review date on there, again, holds accountability to the applicant and the planning and zoning, so we're not chasing.
So,
3 years is beyond it blows my mind, actually. to be
well, we're
honest
up to
with
5 years now, it'll be.
you. 5 years now?
Well, you guys do understand the years it was in with those COVID years, and contractors were not available. And so there was shortage on material, supplies, and businesses.
Planting trees doesn't take a contractor to me.
It does not.
I mean,
It does not.
I ran a business and couldn't find paper, but we found paper to keep our customers, direct mail going out. I don't know, 5 years, my goodness gracious.
You know, you guys, he's also a disabled veteran, so you know what?
This is,
I'm willing to give him a break on this. He's trying to bring business into Todd County. You know, if he's gonna rent these places out, that's generating revenue for the county. I guess that's the way I'm gonna look at it.
One more comment, please. Yeah. So, Adam, if I understand this correctly, then, until that visual screening is established, this can't operate.
Right, I would agree that is a condition that,
Okay.
and if I remember the condition correctly, it specifically referred to establishment of vegetative screening. I'd have to look at that for sure, but
Look back at the
to
exact CUP.
any fencing or anything that goes up would be great, but it'd really just be a good faith effort by the landowner to have additional sufficient screening.
And the other thing with the fence, you would have to say it has to be new material, it has to be at the same color. I mean, we've seen some really bad fences go up.
So how are we gonna determine what's right, what's actual visual screening in the end then? I mean, because we review this in 2 years, and does it need to meet the 8-foot, 10-foot height of visual screen, or is it, if we can see through it, is that not screened? I don't know. That's where I mean, we have to have an answer, because we've held other people to these standards. And I'm, it's okay if we let it go to me, but if we do, we gotta have some kind of standard to set it to, that it's gotta be done. I don't wanna see these drug out 10 years, Randy, again.
I don't know if we have a definition of vegetative screening in our local ordinance or not. Nothing comes to mind. My opinion would be that it needs to serve the purpose of the condition, which isn't gonna happen overnight.
It's not gonna happen in
But to
2
get
years
it-
either.
And it's something we can periodically check in on, by setting using this date, or even if you move it up, it doesn't automatically disqualify us from doing this process again in a year or 2 years if there is some sort of hangup, if that's anything to consider in the process.
What do you think, Tim?
Fair enough.
I don't know. Lou, what do you want to see?
Well, I would like to see this done correctly and have it done already, so he's operating.
Well, what's correctly?
Having a visual screen like.
Well, what's the visual screen? What do you want?
Where you can't see the operation.
Do you want a fence then? Is that what you? What do you, I'm just asking.
That's fine, yeah. I just don't wanna see another one of these drag on for 10 years like we've had.
I don't either.
Cause we'll keep reviewing it and then keep pushing it out.
And the sad thing, right now, we're looking at a very dry spring. You know, to say that these trees have to be planted by such a date this spring, unless we're blessed with a lot of rain, the moisture is very low right now.
Right,
Oh,
right.
yeah.
No, I was just asking,
Yeah.
what do you want? Because your idea of visual screen is different from Commissioner
Well,
Newman's and
that's
Becker's
why
and
we don't have
myself.
a definition of a visual screen in our ordinance,
Yeah.
but a visual screen to me is, while the operation is in operation, you can't see it
Can't
from
see
the
it,
road.
you can't see through it, yeah. It's
So Lou, I think to solve this is just have the staff go out periodically and do a follow-up
Yeah, sure.
and report back to the board. I mean, they're the ones, if we're issuing a continuation of it, they need to go out and
Okay, is there an option for us to review this in 6 months rather than 2 years? And see if any action has been taken, any work has been done?
I think you could definitely adjust that and make a decision in 6 months or whatever if we need to send this back to the planning commission to review the progress at that point in
The
time.
thing was 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, because right now it's December 31st of
back to 25.
2025.
Just they wanted to go in 26, they wanted to be.
Yeah, I just think we need to look at it and make sure there's been a good faith effort to try and make it happen, at least in 6 months. Rather than saying in 2 years, we'll check it again. And then,
Review it in 6 months?
yeah.
I say leave the 2 years.
I'd feel a lot better in 6 months than
But leave the
Here
2
in
years and then.
8
for-
months.
We can
for
leave
future,
this
then
as
add
is, but
6
we need
months.
to review it in 6 months, and if there's
I'd like
been
to
no
see
effort done.
I'd like to see something from staff in 6 months. I'd like to see what's happened there. We'll report back.
Yep.
Not 2025. That's ludicrous. Nobody should be. Doesn't work.
Okay,
I say,
Business works.
I say 8 months, you can plant late in the fall.
8 months is fine, that's fine
Yeah,
too.
that's great.
I'll give
if
you
I
8
could,
months.
I'm going to recognize the person in the back. You stand up and state your name?
Back in yonder forestry.
Oh.
So my question is, if this situation was taken care of this spring by a planting of a mix of, for instance, jack pine, lilac, et cetera, plum, a bit, to establish the trees in the ground this spring, would that meet the requirement? I mean, once those trees are in the ground and they're growing, which they would have to be replaced in the case of a drought, wouldn't that then serve the commissioner's requirements? I mean, then.
If I may comment?
Even though the visual screening wouldn't be a big.
They're about 170.
Yes, I understand your concern and comment, but it's been 3 years. It could have been done 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago to meet this. And we've been, he made the effort, got some trees in the ground. Yeah, they may have died, replace them to 80%, fine, whatever. But there's been nothing, no screening whatsoever.
Okay. Yes, go ahead. If you stand up and state your name, please.
William Hartsock, property owner. Yes, it could all been done, but there's wire to be cut in through that area, ground and dirt to be dug through the area where the vegetative state's gonna be done. Power company had to get their stuff in, plumbing's gotta get put in the area, the stuff's gonna get in. I still gotta put my 6-foot chain link fence that I plan on putting along the edge of the property on a ditch line underneath the power line yet. So still got my process to do. I've got the lilacs pre-ordered to come in this spring from the county, and they're already paid for it. So I'm in the process of getting it done prior, everything is stepped. I'm being told by the electric company, wait for this, we need this in. Wait for the power, everything's a step. I have to wait for everybody else. And then again, COVID. I get 4 or 5 months out of the year if the ground ain't froze.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd be looking for someone to
I'll
put a motion forward.
I'll make the motion with, add what Lou and Bob said, add a review under 8 months, and then keep the 2-year review for just further, if it passes 8 months, then I'll get a review again at that final date.
Okay, we have a motion by Denny. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Nazca.
One comment with that, we want the review at 8 months, but if there is no progression within the 2 years, it's gonna be off the table, canceled. So.
It would go
That
through
would
this
have to
same
be-
process
Same
and you would make
process,
that
yep,
decision,
right,
yeah.
Yep,
I would have to,
I'll second it.
go back to Denny. Do you accept that as part of your motion?
I would say bring it back for a review.
Okay, yeah, it'll be, under the 8 months, you want to see it brought back for a review, or just,
Review.
or do you want the planning just to go out there and, or do you want it informal, or do you want it formal? Or,
So-
guidance.
Okay, it would go back to this same process. You'd make I think you're acknowledging kind of what your thoughts are to this, but after that 8 months, which puts us into November-ish timeframe, you just do this the same process, and if it's not done, that's part of your findings, you make that decision. So I don't think that needs to be part of the motion today, but it's just naturally part of the CUP review process.
Okay,
perfect.
I think what
Thank you.
we're
Okay.
not clear upon is, after the review, will it continue to go on?
Right.
Until 2025, and that was your motion?
Yeah.
Is that accepted?
That's acceptable.
Okay,
Denise, you got that?
yeah. Would you want to read that back?
Sorry, Denise.
Just listen to the tape.
So that would put the review date, if my math is right, as November 19th, which is a Tuesday, so
Okay,
that would actually be a board meeting day, but that's fine, we probably see it at the next
About
meeting or get
18th,
on
you
the.
can report back then.
What's that?
How about Monday, the 18th, then you can report back on Tuesday, the 19th, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah, that day doesn't make a whole lot of difference to me,
Thank you.
okay,
so, but 8 months would put us at November 19th.
okay. We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries. Thank you.
Get her done.
All right. Regroup here a little bit. All right, next is the authorization to submit the PLSS grant application. The PLSS monumentation grant application is nearing completion, will be ready to be submitted. This grant requires the County Board of Commissioners to pass a resolution to authorize the submission and authorize the Auditor Treasurer's Office to act as the fiscal agent for the grant. Options are to adopt the attached resolution or do not. Recommendation are to adoption of the attached resolution to authorize the PLSS grant application to be submitted and to authorize the Auditor Treasurer's Office to act as the fiscal agent. When we kicked off this process, there was the adoption of that letter of support, but in order to submit the application, it's required to be in the form of a resolution.
Okay. With that, I'll ask for a motion to authorize to submit the PLSS grant application.
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, amendment to the Sauk River Watershed Collaborative Biennial Work Plan. The Sauk River Watershed Collaborative Fiscal Year 2022-23 Work Plan is recommended for amendment by the Policy Committee. Proposed amendments are attached for review. Options are to adopt the resolution to amend the work plan as presented or do not adopt the resolution. Recommendation is adoption of the attached resolution to amend the fiscal year 2022-23 Sauk River Watershed Collaborative Biennial Work Plan. These were funds that needed to be reassigned to projects that were more ready to go, and some of these are coming to Todd County, right?
The supplemental ones.
Okay, that's the next one. So, yeah, so this is just an amendment to reassign some of the funds of the existing work plan.
Okay, a resolution to adopt and implement Sauk River watershed supplemental funding.
So moved.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, the resolution to adopt and implement the Sauk River Watershed Collaborative supplemental funding. The Sauk River Watershed Collaborative has received $304,271 in supplemental funding from the watershed-based implementation funds. Sauk River Policy Committee recommends to local boards the approval and implementation of the supplemental funds. Options are adoption of the resolution as presented or do not adopt the resolution. Recommendation is to adopt the resolution to adopt and implement the supplemental funding for the fiscal year 22-23 watershed-based implementation fund grant. And some of these funds are being assigned, these are additional funds that would be coming to Todd County, not
Madam
all
Chair.
304.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
am I lost in here, Adam, because,
Yeah,
CRP now, or the
Right.
oh, pardon
Collaborative
us,
CRP.
it's at the very
Yeah.
top. I was like, what are we doing?
yeah. And then there's actually another one. We'll go
Yeah.
ahead and do this, the Sauk River Watershed CRP
Okay,
programs, pilot programs.
so currently you're on implementing Sauk River.
9.10.
No, you're on 9.9, aren't you?
No,
This is the one I'm on that you have on the screen there, supplemental funding.
Yes, 9.9. He had just did 9.8, which I missed, because if you look at the,
There is no.
no,
It's at the
there
very
is no
top.
9.8.
yeah, it's at the very, very top.
Oh,
Her spacing
okay.
got off. Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I was lost too.
Little format issue.
Sorry for the,
okay, now we're on 9.9. Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Nazca, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny, discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and carries. Yeah,
it was
There we
now
go.
we'll go 9.10.
Sure, and this is the Sauk River Watershed Collaborative CRP Incentives Pilot Program. Sauk River Watershed Collaborative has received funding to implement a pilot CRP incentive program. The Sauk River Policy Committee has recommended adoption to local boards. Options are to adopt the attached resolution, to adopt and implement the CRP incentive program, or to not adopt the resolution. Recommendation is to adoption of the attached resolution to adopt and implement the Sauk River Sauk River Collaborative CRP Incentive Pilot Program.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion for the Sauk River Watershed CRP Incentive Program.
So moved.
Motion by Byers, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman, discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Okay, and next is the adoption of the Mississippi River Brainerd Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan Memorandum of Agreement. Mississippi River Brainerd Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan has been completed through the One Watershed, One Plan process. The plan has been through the public comment periods, have been formally approved by the Board of Water and Soil Resources. The next step for the county to adopt the memorandum of agreement for implementation of the plan. Options are a motion to adopt the MOA for the implementation of this water plan, or a motion to deny the resolution. Recommendation is adoption of the Mississippi River Brainerd Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan Memorandum of Agreement for implementation of this plan.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion for the memorandum of agreement for the Mississippi Brainerd Watershed Management Plan.
So moved.
Motion by Denny, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca, discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and carries. Okay, we'll get into soil and water and the feedlot program. Annual report.
You can try it. I don't know if it'll work. You have to turn it on to see if it works for you.
I think the thing's, USB's gotta go on the computer, so Lisa can help there. I think Lisa needs that remote there. You wanna hand it to Lisa there? She'll get it for you. Alright. But we can get started in the meantime? Okay, so I'll get started here and then I'll turn it over here. This is the annual feedlot program annual report. Minnesota Pollution Control Agency requires annual reporting from counties to be received and reviewed and accepted by the Board of Commissioners. The attached report includes activities and accomplishments for 2023, allowing some feedlot program refresher information. The option would be approve the MPCA feedlot program annual report or do not approve the annual report. The recommendation is approval of the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency feedlot program annual report for 2023. But I will turn it over to Deja, Dylan, and Tim to give the updates on the report here first.
All right, thank
And
you.
do we have to have a motion at the end of this for approval of the annual report?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Thank
yep,
you.
and then the chair will sign that, yep.
We actually don't need signature anymore.
Oh, okay, we don't need signature anymore, we just need approval.
Okay.
So,
They just changed that 2 years ago, I guess. All right, we won't want to take up too much of your time here, but we thought It's been 10 years since I've done a presentation like this when we're doing the annual report, and these guys are going to kind of present the report to you. But I thought it might be really good with new commissioners to just kind of understand the key components of delegation in the feedlot program. First of all, the delegation regulates feedlots from 0 to 999 animal units unless classified by the EPA as a CAFO, a large CAFO. And an example of an EPA would be like if we have a turkey farm with 275 animal units, that's 55,000 turkeys. So they do consider that a CAFO, even though it's under 999 animal units. The county retains the right through this delegation to revoke any permit with written justification and review by MPCA. So most of our farms out there are operating under a registration, which is different from a permit. But the permits that are issued, if you guys are uncomfortable or find something with that, you can write to the MPCA, and then they will review. Obviously, it's a counterbalance to make sure that the county's not just, coming up with stuff. It has to be a real reason. But anyway, I thought that would be important for you to know. The delegation authorizes CFOs to do this duty for us. And the recommendation typically is 1 per 3 to 500 feedlots. You guys all know our last meeting with the SWCD that we're actually around 1,450 feedlots when we include the county ones. But the ones that are required by state, which are 50 animal units or up to be registered, are the ones that they're requiring us to look at as far as registrations go. So we do have 706 state-registered feedlots. There's more, but on the that are current on their registration process. The 706 is what we have in Tempo right now, which is the feedlot. What do we call it? Tempo is the database. There we go. Thank you. It's the second highest in the state, and Stearns County has just under 1,400 right now, so you can kind of do a comparison. And then Todd County provides 1.5 full-time equivalents to do that. We have 4 people that are involved in this, so 4 different jobs have a piece of this 1.5. We do a lot more than 1.5 worth of work, but we are able to do some of this county work under the grants that we apply for through the SWCD. That allows the county to stretch its money farther when it comes to the feedlot money that's awarded by the MPCA. Like pit closures and different things under different grants, we can charge those hours to grants and not to the county program. So I thought that would be interesting. Also understand that all of these positions, each person has a percentage of their time in the feedlot program, and then the percentage of their time under SWCD. Oh, that would be helpful. Made the slides. Okay, so that's what I just reviewed. The next one, okay, is the duty of the CFOs. So they inventory, locate, and register all feedlots and manure storage areas. Okay, it doesn't matter the size, they have to inventory, locate, and register. The last time we inventoried was in 2017. We will re-inventory in 2027. We're constantly re-inventorying with the registration process, but it always seems like somebody sneaks in there, so we have to do an aerial review as well. They're also required to review permits and issue permits. And all the things in red are the things that we review when a permit application comes in. Sensitive wells, MDA, DWISMA, DNR, County Well Index, and on-site well inventories, because we do take inventories of well locations every time we're on site. Sensitive features, shoreline, FEMA floodplains, and all surface waters, karst-sensitive geological features, water table, proximity to residents, EAW, stocking densities, manure production, land application records, manure storage volume and handling species, engineering specs, specs, setbacks, proper notification, and affidavit of publication, blueprints, test bores, concrete specs, etc. I have this right here because I'm not sure if the board is aware of when a feedlot application comes in. This is not the application, this is the list of questions that we have to go through and double check to make sure. There's almost 30 pages here of questions that we are double checking all of these things and using a variety of materials and supplies and databases and all that. So that's just that, so you can kind of see that. The other piece that we have to go through, and it's ripped up because you can see it's well used, we have to make sure that we're not conflicting with the county ordinance, but also sometimes there's pre-existing nonconformities, and this dates back to 1976. So when a feedlot was put in, we have to double check, was that allowable at that time? All of that. So 76 on up is all the changes that we review as well. So, and when I say we, that's not me anymore, that's these guys. Inspect animal feedlots and manure storage areas, and that they have to do the numbers of animals, the soils, the slopes, the proximity to surface water, feed storage, carcass disposal, water table, manure records, milk house waste, manure storage and permitting, where all that is going on. And then number 4 is they are charged with review and processing complaints. And did you know that all feedlots, 0 to infinity, are subject to state 70/20 rules? This is the hardest thing for producers to understand. They think if they don't have to be registered, they're not subject. They are all subject to 70/20 rules. 1 animal unit, 2, a half, a chicken. Okay, if there's something that chicken's doing, going over and crapping on somebody's well, we have an issue. Okay, so those are all, even if they're not required to be registered, if we get a complaint in about something related to feedlots, we do have to go out to it. Number 5 is maintain records of all correspondence and material related to permit applications, inspections, complaint, and air quality exemptions. And then down below is just the enforcement actions that we go through in the process. So they get a letter of noncompliance if any of these things are not up to SPAR. The next one is they get a letter of warning, and that letter of warning has a date in which they must respond. At that point, it goes to notice of violation, and that is a true violation. And then we take those to the county attorney. And I have to thank John. He has been supportive of anything that we need to do with our programs. In the past, that was not a place to go. We usually had to skip the county attorney and go to the MPCA. And that's the last resort typically because we're a local county and we like to keep our stuff local. One thing that's also very complexing is the fact that the feedlot program has no delegation over groundwater. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind when constituents ask. However, when it comes to, on the side here, this one, when there is water table or elevations of water table that can, or interface with surface waters, we do have jurisdiction there. So this is an example. Obviously, we don't live on the ocean, but this was the best example I could find. If you had a waste site that went into the ground, and those could be pits, that could be corn silage, leachate, any sort of milk house waste. If it's going into the water table and there's surface waters, there where there's interchange going on, and that's typically within 300 feet, then we do have some jurisdiction there. All right, and then this one will start at the bottom. So if you see a feedlot or hear that a feedlot permit has been authorized by the feedlot program, okay, so there's the feedlot program and then there's the county stuff. If it's been authorized, it's because the proposal has been found to meet all federal, state, and local rules within these documents that I showed you there. We cross-check, cross-reference, check each other. check with the other experts in the field too. Once in a while, we get those ones that are pre-existing nonconformities. We actually do have some old farms, not very many, in the county that are operating above 500 animal units without a COP, and that's because they were operating in that level before the CUP became a requirement by ordinance. So there's very few of that, but if they were to expand at this point, they would have to come in for a CUP. But just if they come in and all of a sudden you're like, oh, why didn't you ever have a CUP? We can go back and verify that with the pre-existing nonconformity clause. However, and this is the one where we have some producers that kind of get in trouble. Unpermitted pits, they are never recognized as pre-existing nonconformities. They were put in without a permit, they just dug them in, or they lost their permit, unfortunately. That is, we can't, that's it, you know, that's an unpermitted pit. Or if they chose to kind of duck the rules back in 2000 and never register, okay, that could also be an issue for them as well. The next slide, and I'm down to the last two. Notifications. So this is always interesting, and we'll present this at the feedlot meeting this week, but all feedlots are supposed to notify if they're new or expanding their local zoning authority. So if you're pulling two horses onto your property, you're supposed to notify the local zoning authority if you're creating a feedlot. Okay, and we'll talk about what a feedlot is shortly. Feedlots 50 AUs to 999, they need to notify the county feedlot program and the local zoning authority. So the county sometimes is the local zoning authority, but they also have to notify, you know, their city, for example. And then that little star by the 50 is that 10 or more animal units in shorelands need to notify. So this counts for new feedlots or expanding feedlots. One way that the SWCD and the feedlot program helps with notifications is at the end of the year, after every registration cycle, we send every township, every city, who registered that year. And then they're like, oh, okay, now we, you know, even if that person fail to notify them, then they can take action on their part if they feel it need to. Feedlots 500 to 999 animal units, that's the general public, the county, and the county feedlot program. And they notify the county because of the conditional use requirement, and the general public typically is within a newspaper, and then us, the county feedlot program. And then 999, feedlots greater than 999, they have to notify the general public, the county due to the conditional use requirement, and then it goes to the MPCA. One thing to keep in mind is that the 70-20 rules do not require any mailbox notification. So we hear that all the time, like, I didn't get notified. If the notification goes through the newspapers. So my recommendation, if I were a commissioner, if they say they didn't get notified, is to make sure they subscribe to their newspaper. So that's all that's required. We do some courtesy notifications when requested to lake associations or certain townships. So that's kind of how that goes. And then just the next slide is just to remind people what a feedlot is. So this one, you see, it's just the barn. There's everything's green all the way around it, but the barn stores animals inside of it. So that is a feedlot by itself. Okay, the next one is, this is what you typically envision when you see a feedlot. This might be an out west, really large feedlot. It's all bare of any grasses at all, and the cattle are fed inside. And we have those here, but much smaller. You know, they're not that large. The next one is a manure storage area, is a feedlot by itself. So it doesn't matter how big that manure storage is. It's considered a feedlot, even if it's off-site. And the next one is a combination of a pen or a barn is considered a feedlot. And if you see in that picture with the pig, that grass is nice and green, so people would argue whether that's a feedlot or not. If you're familiar with pigs, you know they just put that pig in there because that is not gonna stay green very often, it's gonna be rooted up within a day. And then the last one is, shocker, this is a feedlot. Okay, a couple chickens scratching around, bare vegetation, they have a barn with a roof. So that's my portion of the presentation. I'd like to hand it over to Dylan Pratt and Tim Ebnett, who are the boots on the ground.
All right, so I'm just gonna go over some of our highlights from our year-end review with MPCA. On March 8th, we met with MPCA, myself, Tim, and Deja did. Like Deja said, we have 706 feedlots above 50 animal units that are required to be registered by the MPCA. We are required to inspect 7% of those a year, which would be about 49.5, 50. We actually did 61 inspections, so that comes out to 8.6, so we exceeded our requirement there. And we met 100% of our minimum program requirements.
So of those 61 feedlot inspections that we did that we get credit for, the data underneath the data underneath that is 59 sites got compliance inspections, 4 sites received construction inspections, and then 6 sites received infield land application inspections. Of those inspections, 8 were marked non-compliant for water quality discharge standards, and of those 8, 5 of those sites were 100 animal units or more, found non-compliant with nitrogen or phosphorus requirements. We also issued 6 interim permits and then 1 construction short form permit.
We were also out on site for 2 emergency response events. We issued two letters of warning when it comes to the enforcement portion. And then we had 47 sites that we visited for assistance. So if a landowner calls us and asks us, typically we count that as assistance and don't count that as part of our routine, random compliance inspections. So I believe that's all I have.
Any questions for the gang?
Any questions?
Otherwise, we would just look for approval of the MPCA feedlot program annual report for 2023.
Okay, I would ask for a motion for the feedlot program annual report for 2023.
So moved to approve.
Motion by Nazca to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good report.
You guys?
Solid waste.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, the first board of action I'll present for this morning is for overhead door replacement. Bay 2 of our recycle facility is in need of a replacement overhead door system. This door is original equipment and has no longer functionable. We received 2 bids for the 14 by 16 insulated door. Central Minnesota Door was low bidder in the amount of $9,050. The replacement door purchase was discussed amongst our committee. Options is to award the bid to Central Minnesota Door for that amount of $9,050 or to do not award the bid. It is our recommendation to award the bid to Central Minnesota Door for $9,050. This is a budget item through our Fund 51.
Okay, I ask for a motion for the overhead door replacement.
So move.
Commissioner Byers for to replace, I would presume. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carries.
Next one. So we have three more agenda items here that are all related. So if I could just introduce them together. These are all related to the CAP grant project for construction of a new transfer station building. So these three board items are, we've broken it into three pieces because there's like three steps here. One is we need to make sure that we've accepted all the grant money from the state of Minnesota. The second is that the overall project has the funding to move forward. And then the third is to award the project to High Tech Construction. So I'll start with the first board action that is labeled here as CAP Grant Agreement Amendment and Additional Funding. So you may remember in 2022, the board approved the original grant, which is called a CAP grant or Capital Assistance Program grant for $4 million. And then as we developed the project with our consultant, it became apparent to us through a variety of things, including inflation, that the original budget was too low. So with the help of Representative Wiener, the county received an additional $2.795 million of funding through the state's general fund last year. Like the $4 million, we need to accept that money through a grant agreement. To this day, we haven't done that. And so this action is to accept that and to amend the original contract because our schedule has changed. The original schedule was for completion in this year, and with this amendment, the schedule is for completion by December of '25. So that being said, the options are to sign the attached resolution, which would authorize the solid waste director to use DocuSign to approve these agreements. And the other option is to not give us authorization to do that. So turning it over to you for questions and.
Any discussion before I ask for a motion? Okay, I will go ahead and ask for a motion for the CAP grant agreement, and that total agreement would be $6,795,000. Is that the correct number?
That's correct.
Okay, and is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Newman. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that carries. Thank you.
Thank you. So the second board action we have for you is called Transfer Station Project Funding. So as you know, on February 8th, I believe, we opened bids for the general contractor for this project. And after opening bids, we did a second look to make sure that we have the total project budget put together right. So before getting into the resolution and what we're asking you for, I'd just like to possibly go to the page that has a summary of the funding. I think this is, it's actually, I believe, part of the resolution. So if I could just briefly explain to you a little bit of a narrative, just to show you that what we're trying to do here is demonstrate that we have prepared ourselves for the entire project and that we've looked at where that money's coming from. So the top table that's labeled committed funds, I'm not sure if that's the right label for you, but what I was trying to say there is when we started the project and after receiving the additional grant money, we had identified by resolution that the solid waste department would contribute $540,000, and that through a general fund loan from the county, another $972,000 would be used for a total project cost of $8.3 million. I'll skip the small numbers unless you want me to read them. Upon opening the bid, there were several alternates, and there's also some unit price work and a water main for the city of Browerville. Through committee and work session, what you see here is a selection of one of the alternates, the West Road, and use of the unit prices, which is essentially like the exterior work or the earthwork, and then award of the water main, which is to bring water in for fire suppression. We felt like as a committee and through discussion with work session, that's the right project, and that's $7.839 million. So now, seeing that number and having that, because we have open bids, we wanted to look at the total project, because that amount is just the contractor's fee. So the table below shows what we estimate to be all of the costs. So that first row is just a repeat of that number, general contractor 7.839. Then we have the professional services from the design engineer Stantec, and that cost is a contract amount for designing, bidding, and inspection, $625,000. I won't go through each item here, but the remaining items are equipment that are needed. For example, the tractor and the trailers with wet kits, that's a type of truck and trailer that is necessary for this type of facility that we don't currently own. So without that equipment, we can't run this facility. Last on that list is contingency. And we reviewed that number with our consultant, and at this phase of the project, it's normal and advisable often from the engineer to have a contingency in case things come up. So that number's 6% of the budget, which is $577,000. So now we have a total project of about $10.2 million. So then the last table here is funding sources. So, and what this is there's a gap there between our original budget and what we have here. So what we've done here is just detailed out where's that money gonna come from. Some of those are equipment costs, and we have in the budget for 24 and 25 about $225,000 for purchasing equipment. So that takes care of $450,000. The next line item is our building fund payments. We set aside $50,000 a year. And so by the end of this project, we'll have an additional $200,000 of revenue set aside. So in closing the gap, the next two items do that. The first one there is just available cash balance. We've reviewed as an enterprise fund, we have just roughly around $2 million in account right now. So we see that it's within, it's a safe margin for us to put that amount of money into this project. And that shouldn't, we're not jeopardizing the department's budget to do that. And the last number there is an appropriation of $1 million of the ARP funding from the county. And that would close the gap then for the project. So with this, the rest of the language in there is saying, we explain this to you and you agree with it. I'll stop and let you ask any questions you may have.
Any questions by the board? I think a lot of us have been through this several times, through the process of doing this. So if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and have a motion for the transfer stations budget funding. And that would be accepting the funding as listed above. And we've looked at the ARPA dollars, and the ARPA dollars are there to be put towards this project.
I'll make the motion to accept.
Okay, a motion by Nazca. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it carries. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we have funding. So the last thing to do is award the project. And we included in here, again, I'll skip the words and just, there's a lot of pages here, but trying to follow the right procedure. Stantec is our lead design engineer. And we've asked for their review of the documents of all the bids that were received. They've reviewed them all, and they recommend that we award the bid to High Tech. So we've also looked at that. That's important to us, just to do that double checking. And unless there's any more questions, the options here are to award the project to High Tech. And I'll just read off the specifics because the bid itself, there was alternates and kind of like options. So what we recommend is that the base bid be awarded plus alternate 2. And alternate 2 is there's a road up to the west side of the property that's basically unsafe. And part 3, that's the unit price work, like the pavement and the dirt work outside of the building, and plus the City of Browerville improvements, which is the water main to bring in water for fire suppression. And that's for an amount of $7,839,767.90. The other option is to not pass the resolution authorizing award. Our recommendation is to award the bid.
Okay, I would ask for a motion for the Todd County Transfer Station Award Contract to High Tech Construction as stated on paper. I didn't start reading it all. Motion by Newman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carried, and took us a long time to get to this point. Thank you.
Yes.
If I could just thank everyone here, because, you know, we've had things to change because it never goes exactly as planned, but thank the commissioners for supporting us, and a lot of really great help from staff. You know, Mike's worked really hard on this, but also staff beyond that. We've had help from the attorney's office, we've had help from, you know, the highway office and from the auditor's office, and just really feel like there's still 2 years of construction left. But to get here, there's a lot of help that we got, and that was very, very important. It wouldn't have gone so well without that.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good morning, Jackie.
Morning, Commissioners. All right. I have a board action here in front of you to present. And first, I want to say that we're learning after Dina has retired and fixing some things that we posted incorrectly. So that's why I'm here today. And Abby's doing a great job, but a lot to learn. So a BAF here is the correction to board action 20240305-09. Some background. The board action form 20240305-09 approved the resignation of Child Services Social Worker Angela Hopkins with an effective date as of March 1st, 2024. This needs to be corrected to February 29th of 2024. Your options are to approve the correction date or to not approve. It's our recommendation that you go ahead and approve the board action 20240305-09 to correct the effective date due February 29th, 2024.
Okay, I would ask for a motion for the correction of board action 2024-0305-09.
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Byers. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll go into standing reports. Auditor Treasurer.
For the month of March, we survived both elections. That's a great thing, and it's only the 19th of the month. Those went on real well. We had good attendance in both the PNP and the township elections that happened last week. And then our auditors, we got as much completed as we could. And I thank my staff for that. They did an excellent job of getting ready for the auditors. They're here, they're in the room next door. They'll be around bugging people, asking for information. They'll probably ask to meet with one of you. They go through a fraud question, and so it's just a random pick. So if you get called, you might have to come in. Sometimes it's a 15-minute interview. Sometimes if you got lots to say or they got lots of questions, it could be a half hour or more, but just be prepared if I give you a call. And I think that's all we have going on right now. Getting a tax file went off to the outsourcers to start printing tax statements. Those will be in the mail at the end of March and start another tax collection season.
Okay. I'll ask for the county coordinator. Maybe on Ferryville, when you've been here for a week, so.
Yeah,
I heard that you got up to Sourcewell and Staples?
we did, yes, the HR director and myself went up to Sourcewell and met a number of people there and had a good meeting. And you know, just meeting everyone and learning what they do. So that was really good. But otherwise I don't have a lot. I've just been learning, sponging in everything.
Well, welcome. Thank you. County attorney?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the sheriff can attest, we never know what the next day is going to bring. This past week has certainly been an example of that. When cases come into our county that we have to deal with that require contact with different state agencies and different organizations altogether, we have to be very nimble and communicate. I know I'm kind of speaking in code, but I just want to say that we have a really good office right now, and we have a really great relationship with law enforcement and social services, and things are going in the right direction. And so I'm really proud of what we're doing and how we're doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners report, Commissioner Noska?
Sure. I guess I was at a bunch of meetings, but the one that I would like to highlight is the Todd Community Corrections. We had the building update in Eagle Bend. It's coming along. The trusses are set, and we've also hired our corrections agent, or he's accepted the position. So we're finally filling a position we had vacant for a long time. We're gonna have Shane Warnke. He'll be the corrections agent. We'll be starting April 4th.
Good. Commissioner Byers?
Being that I was out for a few days, the only thing I had to report back is the facilities, which both Barb and I attended, and we talked about the rock wall, and so that's a great project, and that's about it for now.
Okay. Commissioner Newman?
Yes, Madam Chair. On the 5th, had a water sample discussion. The 6th, I was here for the rock wall bid opening. 7th, I had a Central Minnesota Council on Aging meeting. 11th, Personnel Committee meeting, county. And then on the 12th, I had a CPT personnel meeting. 13th, Department Head meeting. 14th was Water and Soil, Solid Waste, and Rainbow Rider. And that's all I have.
Okay. Commissioner Denny?
Nothing really to report of significance, just besides that last Greater Regional Library meeting. After that, there was down in St. Cloud, there was a shooting in the parking lot, but you guys probably seen that on Star Tribune, but that was taken care of, so pretty exciting times for the library. But we, yes, that one got handled, but other than that, just busy weeks coming up here at the end of the month for me, so that's it.
Okay. I attended the policy meeting on the 6th and also attended the opening of the rock wall bids. We had the canvassing of ballots on the 8th, which Commissioner Newman was also there. Yep. Personnel on the 11th, along with corrections. On the 13th, we had department head meeting, and on the, I think it was 14th, we had soil and water and Rainbow Rider. So with that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn until April 2nd, if there's nothing more to come before this board.
So move.
Motion by Newman. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Byers. And we will be adjourned until April 2nd. We'll take a 5-minute break.
We have the work session now. But yeah, anyway,
I like arguing.
it's fun.
So, see, if we rotate chairs, you two would be next to each other.
Oh, cute. Oh, my gosh.
All right.
Okay, are we all
Ready?
back? We'll go ahead and call the work session and the Sauk River Watershed District Overview and
Madam
Board
Chair.
Appointments.
Number 1 will be removed from the agenda. John emailed this morning and he's under the weather. And he will reschedule to do his presentation
Okay,
at a later date.
Go.
okay.
I'm glad
So
you're
we'll-
ready.
Yeah.
Good thing you're here.
Thank you.
Perfect. Well, again, it's good to be in front of you. I have Catherine and David here. We had Todd, our office had contracted with Morrison County regarding the water program delegation, and it's, I believe Catherine attached the old delegation, which was from 2010 when it was signed, to the presentation here. But we wanted to talk about, as we now have David as our sanitarian and moving forward in workload and capacity, how you would like us to move forward with the water delegation. So I am gonna let you two kind of take it over from here.
For sure. I just want to give a quick background. We have 2 local delegations with the Department of Health. One is for food pools and lodging and licensing those establishments. This discussion is around our water program. So those are 2 separate delegations, just so you're aware. This map that's up there currently in yellow shows the programs that have a local delegation. So you'll see it's Morrison and Todd, and then all that chunk to the east is one big southwest. Oh, sorry, west, thank you, David. West is Southwest Health and Human Service Agency. We just heard 2 Wabash and Olmsted counties are also giving back their water program to the state of Minnesota. I'll let David talk a little bit about the pros and cons of giving this water program back, and then we can have some further discussion.
Sure, thank you. So once again, this is only addressing what is known as a non-community water supply. So by definition, that is an establishment, think of like your resorts, your campgrounds, things like that, that serve 25 or more people for 60 or more days a year. They are required, if they meet that criteria, to have their water samples collected and tested once annually and to have what's known as a sanitary survey done, which is kind of a general overlook of all their plumbing well type stuff. Make sure the caps are in place, the screens are in place. Relatively basic in most situations. You know, if you have one well somewhere, it's pretty straightforward. Gets complex when we go to resorts that have multiple wells and multiple systems feeding different cabins. And then there's also another side of this, which is called the non-transient water supplies, which is like your schools and childcare settings that are not located. Once again, these are only for things that are not located within a city that does their own water testing. So Todd County has about 38, based on the most current number, that we are responsible for testing annually. In speaking with our surrounding counties, basically excluding Morrison County, it seems like the trend is to give this program back to the state of Minnesota. One of the main pros in that is that the Minnesota Department of Health is actually contracted by the EPA to do all of this. So there is no cost for the state to do it. When we do it, we go out to a resort, campground, whatever, we have to charge for our time, we have to charge for water samples, things of that. The state provides this service for free. They have a team of people that's all they do across the state is water collecting and sanitary surveys. So once again, I know I've already said it, but that is, when we start looking at this, I don't believe our program makes any money on it. What we're able to charge, our fee right now for it is $70. By the time we send staff members out there to do it, we pay for the sampling itself, things like that. It's not a net gain for us. The state will do it for free. They currently have the capacity to do it. They have a gal, her first name is Gretchen, that serves this area. She's actually been kind of just skipping over Todd County and Morrison County to do her other ones. In terms of pros and cons, I guess from my perspective, I don't know what the con is. I think they're quite capable of doing it and doing it well. The water program looks a lot different than our regular food pool and lodging delegation in that when we go into an establishment and we identify issues, there's a lot of opportunity for us to work with them, develop plans to get them back in compliance, continue monitoring, stuff like that. With water sampling, your water either has bacteria nitrates in it or it doesn't. So there's not a whole lot of wiggle room for us to work with them on, really, so.
We'll
I think
just take
that's-
questions, yeah.
Yeah, excuse me, if a water sample comes back bad, do they work with the state or do they work with the county to get it corrected?
Currently, with our delegation, they'd work with the county. If this program went back to the state, they would work with the state. We would probably consult with the state because, again, they have more resources than we do to address these. But yes, they would tell us and how often we have to go back to resample and put them on kind of a performance improvement plan.
Okay.
And actually, in many cases, we would consult with just local well companies, because that's really who, if you're identifying some unknown substance in your well, those are the people that are going to be responsible for shocking it or whatever needs to be done to it, so.
We did have one establishment in the past few years where I worked with Morrison County where they had to have bottled water until they came into compliance. And so, as you can understand, and this was an arsenic issue, it's not that simple sometimes to address these well issues. So that was something where the state just kept telling us we had to keep sampling and keep sampling, and again, lots of time, lots of money. Also with bringing it to a lab, so if we bring it to a local lab, we're paying for that versus MDH would bring it to their lab in St. Cloud and there's no charge then to them.
We've also had some concerns around capacity with David's current food pools and lodging, sanitarian.
Position, yeah. I mean, I think
I
we
want to say with inspections,
Right.
we're going to need additional FTEs to take on this, continue with the water program as well. So we did want to bring that in front of you along with the current trends today. And one thing David has said that he's learned is that you got to know a lot to do this. I mean, / plumber as well.
Yeah.
And knowing that there's a fee that will be assessed to the consumer when they're, we're still working through MDH ultimately anyway around guidance. We just thought we'd bring that back to you for discussion and moving forward.
Mr. Byers, you had a question?
Am I clearing this correctly? The second part of, not the food and bar stuff, but the resorts and that's the part that would be potentially delegated to state, right?
Correct. We would still be doing their bars and restaurants, all that. We just would not be the ones responsible for testing their well and ensuring that their, plumbing systems are still meeting code and things like that.
Okay.
And just to clarify, so it isn't just resorts and campgrounds, it's any licensed establishment that we license that has a well, basically.
Yeah.
Would
And we have a
VRBOs
list if anyone's interested in seeing it of
VRBOs
our
be included
38.
in that?
VRBOs are required to have an initial well test when they open, but it's not an annual thing.
Okay.
Questions? We had a real healthy conversation when we first met on this, and, because there are Pacific ones out there that do have wells that are doing food and so forth, and how that would go about. So we had a real good conversation, I think.
Yeah.
May I see that list when you get a chance?
I can take it up too.
All right, so next steps, bring it back to board for decision or
Yeah, if
action?
there's no other questions, that would be the next step, would to bring it back to the board. Board
So-
meetings April 2nd, I believe.
Correct. In our delegation agreement, and again, it's from 2010, but it's been ongoing, we're supposed to give the Department of Health a 12-month notice if we voluntarily terminate from this agreement. They've said, because David hasn't even been trained in how to do this yet, that they're willing to take it over. We would need a letter from the board stating we're going to terminate from this program, and they would pretty much automatically take it over for us. So they have waived that 12-month window for us to make that request.
Okay.
I got a question. Fairy Lake Park, does the county check that water there?
Is that on the list?
It's not licensed through
Very late.
FPL, no.
No.
It would be it'd be under the state of Minnesota already as
It's
a
a
community
park.
water supply, right?
Have water there?
They do,
What Lake Osakis, do they have water?
not at the
As far as the
park.
park?
Yeah.
No, not yet.
We can follow up with you on that.
Yeah, it's not a licensed establishment, so it's probably not
Okay.
monitored.
Well, I just thought I'd ask
No, it's a
that.
very
a
valid
great-
question, because
great
I'm guessing they
question.
would serve 25 or more people for 60 days a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank
We
you.
will see you at the next board meeting
All
then.
right, wonderful.
Hi, Adam.
Good morning again. Okay, following up from the discussion, I believe it was at the last meeting about language, placing language in the ordinance to require that CUPs and such just be reviewed by the township prior to submittal of the application was the conclusion that we came to, so that we could place that burden on the applicant and not on any of the county staff to chase those comments down from the township. I said I'd have some language drafted real quick to review at this meeting, which I have on the board there. That second paragraph is a start. I would think we'd get to something very similar to that. When it refers to the decision of the governing body, our definition of the governing body is the Todd County Board of Commissioners. And it would be amended, we wouldn't place the CUP word or conditional use permit word in the variance section, but it would be adjusted accordingly to sections 503 variances, 505 conditional use permits, and I also think it would just make sense to do section 506, which is zoning amendments, which is where those rezonings fall under in our ordinance. So I just needed to hear any comments or anything from the board today on this. Otherwise, we're just looking for the thumbs up to move it forward to the planning commission for review. The good news is, I guess, that the township meeting was on our planning commission night, so we got pushed a week out. Therefore, we can notice it a week later, which would be due to the paper on Friday. So if we get that thumbs up here today, we can get this to the planning commission right away rather than having to wait another month.
Okay. The thing that I would like to see added in there is to have the township not only visit, but to have it in writing or bring minutes or bringing their
Okay.
in writing back to the Board of Commissioners. Not just saying that I've been there, but to actually have proof that they were.
Sure, and that's where I can amend these, of course, as we go through the process, but it was what I was trying to capture in that the commentary on the application be provided. Well, I can put the words in writing. There we
Yeah.
go.
Because then there's no saying, going back, that they never heard one, because you
Sure.
hear from different township officials that one heard, one didn't, whatever. So
Sure.
if they bring that forward, then we know that they were notified.
And in the process, we'll workshop that, obviously, and get to exactly what it needs to be, and you'll be able to see that prior to making that formal adoption of the language. But that's a good comment.
Any other comments?
I just, sooner the better, we get it done.
Yep.
And that's what the good news is about pushing this particular planning commission meeting out a week, is that we can get it on the agenda this week yet to address it on April 11th. So then you would,
When is the annual township meeting?
the 4th.
The 4th? Okay, so they'll be after that also.
Yeah, and,
So
but
if
we'll
they
talk
have
about this
any-
briefly anyway.
Very good.
They'll get the notice by that point. I'm thinking based on the timing here, I'll have to look at the calendar, but might be the first meeting in May that this would come to the board, just because of the timing of when I need to get board actions in and when the planning commission meeting is, but at least we can get the process initiated faster, just
Correct.
by coincidence.
Okay,
Madam Chair?
yes.
If I may, I know we're looking at prior to submittal of an application for CUP. I mean, I know that maybe this isn't exactly directional on this, but, the issues we had with Dairy Ridge, it might be nice to see us amend the ordinance to include that they would receive their water appropriation permits and NPDES permits prior to coming to us with the CUP application as well, where necessary.
Yes, yes.
Since we're
Do we-
amending the
should
CUP.
we put that in a different one,
We
though?
can put it in a different work session or a different
Because,
format
no,
too, but,
because this is pretty much relating to the township.
right.
Yours is relating to other permits.
Right, so
be-
maybe we need to bring it to a different work session too, I don't know, since
Well,
it's maybe a different
If you're
topic, but.
working on this right now, it'd
Yeah,
be nice to
right.
add that right in here
Yeah,
right
okay.
now.
Okay,
And it would likely, I'd have to look to confirm, but I think it would impact those same sections of the ordinance.
Yeah,
We got the book open.
let's
We can
do
look
it.
at that as possibilities too. I'll make notes of that. Yeah,
Hurrah.
that would be your water withdrawal permit, your NPDS permits, those, any other sort of outside the county permits and how those
Yes.
things fit in. I might have to check in with you on the legalities
Are
of that
included.
and stuff, but that is something we will just explore in this process also.
Yeah, because to have those permits, which, yeah, we just do. Any further discussion? Okay,
Okay, so we will get this moving along right away then.
okay, sounds
All right.
real good. Thank you,
Thank you.
Adam. Okay, the next is discussion on the North Star Act. I think Mr. Byers brought this up.
Yeah, we discussed this at legislative with, I met with Ron Noon, who's a commissioner from Wadena. They adopted this resolution in their county to basically, the state of Minnesota is potentially looking at a North Star Act, which would basically allow illegal, undocumented residents to not be detained by ICE. So their county has said, no, we're not going to apply that in our county. Our county is gonna stay the way it is now. And so I think since it's new, maybe, I don't know if it's had a chance to read through this or not. But it's definitely hitting home in our area that we have a lot of workforce that is potentially work visa or undocumented, and potentially it would be something that we want to look at in our county as well. I see this as McLeod County, but I know that it was adopted in Wadena, so maybe Wadena got it from McLeod too, so.
Yeah, I think Wadena also had one.
So.
Any other comments?
So if I get
Yes.
this right, is this is saying that if the state declares us a sanctuary state, our law enforcement will keep operating as is and not,
You're correct.
not as the state is trying to or push down on us?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to see us open our walls to, I mean, there's a way to get here, and there's the right way and there's the wrong way. Do it the right way, you're welcome.
Yeah, as you read like I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it says, whereas the legislature reviewing that, the very last sentence there says, and prohibiting the use of county resources for immigration enforcement. Enforcement, and as it goes on to talk about that, so. I don't know exactly how many counties have actually adopted at this point. I can certainly do that research if the board needs to, but I think in the best interest of Todd County, I'd like to see us consider this as a resolution.
Where would you like this to go?
Well, I kind of agree with Commissioner Byers, but the thing is right now, with the articles in the Star Tribune kind of listing us as a racist county, it just right now, are we sitting on a frickin' powder keg that's gonna frickin' explode? I have no idea. I'm hearing rumblings about it. But, with this, by us passing this, would this push that over the edge? You know what I'm saying, Commissioner Byers?
Yeah, no, I mean, the article of racism meets rural America is, kind of seemed to me like a race baiting headline more than anything. But, and the other thing is potentially we should have law enforcement, Mr. Allen.
Yep.
Give his take on the whole story, because obviously this affects his department as much as anybody, so.
Right.
We can certainly, next work session or whatever avenue you would like to, we can invite Mike and ask for his thoughts on this whole process and,
I
get
agree with
a
that.
little
Good
more
idea.
meat into it.
Yep.
But to get the ball rolling, I thought it was, time to start talking about this, and it'd be great to have Mike, give us his two cents on the program.
Okay, then we will go ahead and move this, bring it up at the next work session,
Great.
okay? John, do you have any input on this at all, or you want to wait till the next work session? Okay.
Madam Chair, I would say that it's just following suit, which you passed, I believe, a year ago, when the red flag law was coming into place in referring to arms and taking weapons.
Right.
So you're just following suit. And I do know at our MACO conference, and I sit on the legislative part of MACO, this is being talked about in a lot of counties.
Okay,
So we would not be the only ones pursuing this. So just so you know that, and I can check with AMC to see, with Matt Hildegard or Julie Ring to find out how many have already passed this.
okay, that sounds very good.
Thank you, Denise.
And we will see this on the next work session then. Then we'll go ahead, Chris, you are up.
Thank you, and good morning. I'm here to present a 2024 assessment summary. You guys all should have a 3-ring binder by your desk this morning. We've been doing this for 5 years, give or take. So the booklets provided are sectioned out. Definitely a reference material, not a novel. So if and when commissioners get questions regarding value changes in the past year, this should provide enough information to satisfy curiosity. It's certainly not enough to get into the real depth of why, but that is something I can certainly cover. Just briefly looking at overall, the county increase was just over 9% this year, compared to 19% last year. So still an increase, significantly less. The assessor's office found $64 million worth of new construction throughout the county this year. We had 236 residential sales that we used to determine our new values. We also had 63 agricultural sales that we used and 9 commercial sales. The next 40 pages are township specific. So some of these, obviously when I said it's 9%, it's not 9% everywhere, it's not 9% every property. The further you stratify the information, the more in depth you can look at it. But after the summary sheets, there is some graphs, just a visual representation of what was presented in the previous 40 pages. Flips pages. After that, we show the Todd County land schedule, the value per acre by property type and township. A couple maps. The next section covers the Board of Appeals. So most townships hold a Board of Appeal meeting, which taxpayers can go and appeal their valuation or their classification. I have listed those times and locations on a sheet for you. Again, reference material if someone's asking. These are also on their valuation notices on the bottom. The next page is an example of a valuation notice. These are actually being mailed today. So taxpayers should start receiving them Thursday afternoon, maybe Friday morning.
So expect some calls.
Sooner rather than later, yeah.
I'm leaving. Thank goodness.
Right before the weekend.
And
they'll get me.
the last section is the sales I referenced earlier. So this, it shows values, net sales, adjusted sale prices, if it's on water, not, buyer and seller. In my experience, a lot of times people know who sold the property, but they might not have all their information quite right. So this provides that information as it came to us from the recorded document. Again, it's very much a reference guide. It's not an end-all, this is all you need, but it's a good starting point for reference material. I know it's too soon to ask if there's questions since you've only seen them for a short amount of time, but if you do have questions or comments later, be happy to either come back up for another work session if it's needed or individual conversations, please let me know. If there's anything else you'd like to see in a summary form for next year or even as a supplement to this year, please let me know.
I got a question right now because this is the one that's going to hit us as commissioners a lot, and that is your wasteland went up 23.7%.
Yep.
And this is the one that is, I live in a swamp, I can't even get to the tree.
Yep. Yep. If we cycle back to the beginning of the booklet, the first white page, the back side of it shows new construction on the top.
Yep.
And then a yellow bar that says sales data. So the first green line says ag/rural bare land. And the first thing you're gonna see there, it says preliminary ratio of 69.8%. So we received 40 sales of this property type, and of those 40 sales, our average assessed value was a little over 30% less than the sale price of the property. We know state standard is, yep, go ahead.
The sale price was, your average was 30% less than the sale price?
Our assessed value was 30% below the average sale price of the same property. So every property in Todd County has an assessed value today, and some will have a sale price later this year. And what we'll do is we'll compare the sale price after it happens with the assessed price as it currently stands. And that'll give us a ratio of sale to assessed. So when we take those 40 sales of this property type, we see that we were 30% undervalued on that type.
So people sold those properties for less than what they were assessed value?
Other way around.
They sold them for
We
more.
were too low.
Okay.
And I think the important part to remember here is that every year we reset our values to be within 90 to 105, right? We've heard that term, 90 to 105. So we can't be further than 10%. State law dictates that we must be within 10% of the sale price as a whole. So we did this last year, and now this year when we relook at the numbers again, we're 30% low. The land didn't change. I didn't change. The only thing that changed was the market. And the market for these property types increased throughout the course of 2023.
So people were willing to pay more for bare.
Correct.
Tamarack covered swamp, bog, land.
Yep.
Percent more.
Nothing physically changed with these parcels.
Until they come get their tax statement.
Yep. And that's why we're providing that reference material of the
So is
preliminary adjusted ratio, which is that first column where it says preliminary adjusted. If you look at last year's books, and I know, Bob, you don't have them, but if you look at last year's book, this column ended at 92 to 93%. 12 months later, it's at 69%. So it would have been a good investment. If you're in a land trading scheme, you should have bought last year and sold this year, but that's always the case. Every time we come back here, it's always the case. It's always going up.
Chris, so can I extrapolate and say that that same page, the sales data page, commercials at 79.5% preliminary ratio. That means people pay 20% more.
So commercial, I'd like to have a little asterisk there. And the reason for that is 9 sales countywide is tiny. It's a horrible sample size.
But in reality, out of those 9, they paid 20% more than what the assessed value was.
Well, if you look at our adjusted ratio where we ended, 92.2, I am within my legal limit of within 10, but very intentionally on the low side of that. And that was also the case last year. I was very intentionally on the low side. So we ended at 80%, but we probably started at 91. And I'm not gonna give you a hard, this was the number, but I mean, we can get that. I don't have it in front of me today. But when we go back to the rural vacant land, we're at 70% at the beginning of the year. We did not end at 100. We ended at 93. I know we've talked about roller coaster effects here before, and this is a way to mitigate that. I have legally met the standard, gave myself a 2% buffer zone, but certainly didn't take this up to 100. I didn't meet what would be considered actual market price. If something's selling for 100,000, right now I'm assessing it at 92. Legally, we're good. We could go all the way up to 105, but it's hard to explain that to a taxpayer that we know it's worth 100, but we're gonna have 105 on it. We're not doing that. We're not even saying it's worth 100.
You know, and the comment we always get, but we didn't buy or sell, we maintained owning it. You know, and those are the taxpayers that we hear from, that their values continued to rise, but they didn't buy or sell, you know.
Even assets that are not for sale appreciate or depreciate. It might not be marketed, but it still has a monetary value.
Yeah. Other comments? Wait for the phone to ring.
Wait for the phone calls. Take your book home, make sure you have it when that phone calls start
We
coming.
got it, it's going.
Chris, I have a question. Do the valuation statements, they'll state if a township has a levy amount on there for
They
that
do
resident?
not say levy amounts. They will
Okay.
not, because most of those hadn't been levied until their meeting a few weeks ago,
In March, yeah.
Okay.
or even a week ago. So, and those levies that were just passed by a township board will not become effective until 25 taxes.
Okay.
I'm excited.
Until the market crashes? Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, the statements will be out, and so you'll get more phone calls,
Yeah.
because the tax statements will go out.
Well, aren't you the good news bearer?
I'm just saying, getting you prepared.
But please, our phone numbers are, the assessor's numbers are on those statements. People may have to leave a voicemail. They may have to wait in a line for a little bit. It's not that we're not trying. It's all 24,000 go out in the same couple days. We will return them as promptly as possible. Honestly, I don't expect near the volume that we experienced last year. These values, although increasing, it was not to the extent of last year. So, and you know, like.
Everyone knows things still cost more than they did last year.
Yep,
It's just-
and when they get those tax statements 2 weeks later, then it will be another round, but they'll be reacting to the values that we provided in 2023.
Right.
Okay. And if we need to have another work session, you're willing to come back up?
If,
It's
yeah,
look-
I'm
you know.
always willing to help, to educate. If there's something that the board feels needs to be publicly stated, please let me know.
Okay, we'll wait till we start getting our phone calls and decide to go. Thank you.
That's
I
good.
gotta
You're
thank
welcome.
you. When you start doing these
That's it,
books
that's
for
what
us,
I'm
they
saying.
are absolutely awesome.
Yeah, it helps.
And you can compare from year to year with your books also, which is really
Yep.
nice to have. So thank you, very
Glad to hear it.
helpful.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Chris.
She saw it yesterday.
Yep. With that, I think that's the end of the work session, if nothing else is to come before it.
Thanks, Chris.
So I think we have a few other meetings after the work session for some of us, so.
how did Staples go down?
Jackie, did you get a book like this or not?
But they're
You
not
did.
home front.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it'd be good to, yeah.
Just the Staples property went down, because all the houses that got torn down. What's the
Well,
guy
the
supposed to do?
non-homestead went up crazy high, and the commercial was up huge.
So now are we?
Yeah.
still recording or-
But this is gonna be fun.
Melissa, she's